Could I get you to possibly speculate on who you may believe may be the three strongest possible Republican contenders to defeat Governor Edwards, and maybe give a real quick positive and negative that may be associated with those top three?
So the question here is about evaluating the Republican candidates who may or may not be running against Governor Edwards next year. And I'll try to get some general pros and cons, because of course, one of whom I had worked for in 2014, so I'll try to, All right, so we'll start with John Kennedy. He is, of course, the incumbent U.S. Senator, which is an advantage and a disadvantage, because of course he just got elected. I would imagine that Governor Edwards' people would make that the first line of attack against him, is why he wants to come back home so soon. Even though John Kennedy certainly is very verbally adept and good with the quip, that is a concern that he has to address. Plus the question of, does he really want the added scrutiny that goes with being governor, as opposed to, as U.S. Senator, the Capitol Press Corps loves him. So that's certainly a challenge that Senator Kennedy has. Then we go to Congressman Ralph Abraham, who is evaluating his options. And the trickiest thing for Congressman Abraham is that he is from North Louisiana. So what that means is that if he, and the thing I've seen too, when you're talking about a North Louisiana candidate, is that Northeast and Northwest Louisiana kind of tend to do their own thing. In other words, if one is from one side, that doesn't mean the other side will necessarily support a candidate. That's something that John Fleming found out the hard way in the 2016 Senate race. So Ralph Abraham's challenge is, he has a sprawling district that does touch into the Baton Rouge and New Orleans media markets. He also has to make himself better known there, because of course 55% of the vote is cast in Baton Rouge and New Orleans media markets alone. Getting elected governor from the strength of the Monroe and Alexandria media market, that's not enough. So obviously he has to expand his name recognition, and I would argue that that's his greatest challenge. I also think in his favor, he would not be a candidate who lacks for funds, and he has a very good personable manner. When you're talking, I'm going to throw in a third candidate. This goes into the potential impacts of the 2018 midterm elections. Steve Scalise. If you were talking about Republicans being in the minority in the House, there is one less leadership position as a member of the minority party than there would be in the majority party, because of course you don't have a minority speaker. So that means there's some choices that Steve Scalise has to make. Does he gamble on the Republicans taking back the House in 2, 4, 6, or 8 years? Or does he really want statewide office more badly? So that's of course his challenge. I can tell you, I think that he would be a strong candidate. He has the advantage of coming from a media market which casts a third of the state vote. And he has handled himself very well in the wake of last year's very unfortunate incident. So all those things work in his favor. It's really just a question of where, you know, the old question they ask in job interviews about where you see yourself in 5 years. That's certainly an issue that he has to address. So that, like I said, that's what I see as kind of the pros and cons of the 2 to 3 people who could be running for governors or Republican.